Remember, please hit like and subscribe for me. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go.
Hi, everyone. Today is Tuesday, July the 22nd, and this is the Moneyball Morning Report for the Benzinga Pro platform. Today we've got PPI at 8:30, and what else do we have going on? Industrial production at 9:15. Price action probably should get a little bit wonky around those times. Let's take a look at what the E-mini S&P has for us today. Opening range formation, high 6,349.50, low 6,346. We are testing, look at this, we are caught between the opening range of yesterday and the opening range of today. So what might we do? Well, we might get to the top of the opening range and continue forward, or get to the bottom of the opening range here and fade. So this area at 63.46 actually presents a fair short if you're willing to expand into the value area high before it fades a little bit. The overall formation is, of course, very noisy with ideal buying zones at the point of control near 6,330 and Monday's IV, which is 6,355. Here's a note. If we break this old IV line in the sand, it is a buying event. So if you come up here and you go, you know what, I'm going to try it short up here. If it fails, you're going to have a very nice sideways trade down into this. Obviously, we've got a bimodal distribution, right? We've got a lot of buyers here, buyers and sellers here, a lot of buyers and sellers here. And so that's certainly something that you can do. But once it breaks out of the range, it is now a buy stop that pushes us further to the north, back into Tuesday's implied vol levels, which, again, we should fade from. This made a beautiful short on the breakdown. It just took forever for it to happen. And when you're waiting for a trade for a really long time, you tend to take profits really early. And so maybe just go, hey, let me watch this for a minute. Let's make sure I have a failure to break higher combined with a break of frontline support, and then the next bounce up gives me the trade, right? And it occurs at 3 o'clock. Now, something important to share with you, we do normally see liquidity motions in the early part of the morning. There's normally some kind of buying event at about 9:07 Eastern Time, 9:12, and then another event at about 9:25. There is really, our overnight inventory is essentially mixed, right? It's not long, it's not short, because we are right in the opening range formation. And as we speak, it's continuing to move to the north, right? And so that's a pretty nice trade from the bounce off of this 6,335. Keep that in your mind, okay? Implied vol below is very close to the volume weighted average price of this entire range. That's what this line measures, and that is 6,316. I have no idea the direction that we go, but I will say this: deep dips are still going to find buyers, and big spikes are still going to find sellers, because the market is in a very sideways patch because there are so many known unknowns. Volume has been very light these last few days. It truly has been extremely light. Okay, so next instrument. Let's go to the NQ. Whoops. Let's take a look at what the price action did yesterday. Notice it went all the way into Wednesday's IV before pulling back. Opening range, pretty tight, right? Inventory is not long or short. It's very flat in general. And so maybe they're waiting on the PPI that's due to come out shortly. What's the opening range formation tell us? High, 23,353. Low, 23,326. Here are the opening ranges for the prior days, and you can see we are high and then low and then high again. It's a mix, but clearly a breakout that is trying to work through the ranges. So what are we looking for? Again, dips as buy zones. Point of control this morning, 23,255 or so. Value area high, 23,293. But essentially, we are still inside of yesterday's trading range. Very important to remember. If we anchor a VWAP right around this high volume selling candle, we can see that we are generally underneath that. And this is where we're trying to reject currently. That happens to be Monday's. Whoops. Seriously? I must have that incorrect. That should be down here. We have Monday's Monday's implied volatility at 23,350. So as we can see, it's very customary when we break below the low of the opening range and we test a region below and then bounce, we do normally see selling pressure events that occur right around that particular zone. So that's what we're staring down. We'll see if it comes into the value area high and holds a range, but we're probably going to have a pretty solid wick when the PPI comes out. You want to be careful with your risk thresholds, making sure you've got yourself squared away in pretty good spots. Okay? All right, so where do we expect price action to move today? Anywhere from a high of 23,370 to a low of 23,177, and it puts us right back in the range. Very, very choppy formations, but you can clearly see dip buying as the lows get higher. That tells you clearly that we've got buying pressure coming from underneath. The YM continues to be the weak instrument in the mix. My thought is that it's showing a breakdown formation, but there's really not a ton that's telling us that. We are still inside of yesterday's trading range, but we have broken the low. We just bounced off of the low of, what is today? Tuesday. Low of Friday at 44,426. That's going to be a pretty important zone in general. Let's move this over here. For this opening range, or excuse me, that's not true. Here's that opening range. You can see we just tested the top of it. It's just amazing how these opening range trades end up being areas of frontline support. It's absolutely incredible. Okay, that being said, what are we looking at? Bounces are sell zones, in my mind, in this kind of space. We're moving from the top of the value area high to the bottom of the value area low. All of our bounces are giving us lower highs. This is what I would expect. Even if we bounced higher into the heavy congestion of the prior 2 days, we should bump into sellers around 44,700. Opening range, high, 44,613. Low, 44,581. We've already failed the test at 44,580. And so that does give us more downside pressure into the base of the formation in general. All right, let's take a look at micro Bitcoin. So a lot of stuff going on here. Interesting that Ethereum is actually carrying more pressure, pushing things up much further than a lot of the others. We are into Tuesday's IV level, which I find to be very interesting already. We had this line up here at 119,500. Remember, I got a DM yesterday. It was very troubling to me. And the DM said, hey, When you get to these levels, is this the place where we position our short? Because we're trying to catch the top of the move or whatever. Remember, these implied volatility lines just tell you where the rugby players have jammed up against each other in terms of getting things sorted. Easily, we could blow out to the top and get to 120,000. These numbers, they just got all wacky on me. I have no idea what happened here. Okay, easily they could blow out to the top. Let's find out what's going on. I don't know why my chart did not save these structures, so we're going to fix them. Today is Tuesday. We've got a $1,300 move. So that's 118.6. Wow, that's already up here. These down here, 118.6. That's the top of Tuesday's move. Wow. It's the bottom of Tuesday's move. Wednesday, let's see what Wednesday is. 23, so that's 9.7. Perfect. Okay. That's Wednesday's move. Oh, that's a lot of vol. Yeah, that's a lot of vol that they're spiking in there. We got some action going on here, friends. Okay, Tuesday and Wednesday. Wednesday and Thursday, very tight, but something between today and tomorrow looking like pretty interesting motion. Yeah, because Wednesday's only, Thursday is only $100 higher. Yeah, Wednesday and Thursday very close together. Leave it right there. All right. Very, very interesting. And then, of course, Fridays. Let's see if I've got Fridays properly. 3, 4, also expanding between Thursday and Friday. Big vol. Interesting. So something between Thursday and Friday. Yeah, that's super interesting. Okay. All right. Sorry about that, folks. All right. Opening range today for micro Bitcoin. Oops. Well, inventory for micro Bitcoin is very long this morning. We broke both sides of the range. Opening range high, 117,700. Opening range low, 117,195. Right? So range within range breaks out. I expect we go to the top of the opening range for, what does that look like? Friday, right? And that puts us up into this 120,000 area. It is very heavy up here. There's a lot of supply here. Lot of supply. If it breaks out, it is a wild buy back up into 123,000. Okay? You've got to be very careful trying to short the top of this because it could absolutely shred you. Really want to be careful. Really, really want to be careful there. All right. Let's see. What's next? Oil. I think these guys are getting ready for a rollover. Let me double check. 65.43. What are we reading here? Yep. Look at the gap. Mercy. Okay, so they are in rollover, and oh, good. TrendSpider has done this. That's great for the continuous one. They automatically rolled it for us. Here we are down at the bottom of the formation. Have a gander. Look at where it stopped. Opening range from the past. Let's see if we can find that edge. I mean, it is amazing. I got to talk to Andre at Edgeful and see if he will build me a study like this, because I don't know that they have one for the Globex Open. And I bet you the stats there would be astounding. All right. Now we're caught in a sideways mash. Could we fill the gap between one contract and another? Of course. Of course we could. If we do, great. If we don't, also great. What we are seeing is that they are creating a shelf of buying right here in this range. And so my suspicion is that if they break above the opening range high, which look at how tight that structure is. Holy smokes. The high of the range, $65.85. Low of the range, $65.76. That's a 10-cent opening range. Collapses, fails the first retest, now trying to hold the floor. I mean, I would not be disinclined to try a long action event up above $65.55, back into the value area low, and see if we can fill the gap. That's what I'd be looking for. Again, we've got news in 9 minutes, so hopefully we'll be done with this. What are the regions to consider as targets? On the downside, $64.34. Low of the range for Thursday's implied volatility. My suspicion is that it does try to hold somewhere around 65, right? That's pretty important level. And then the break higher at 65.86, we have the EIA report today, so it could give us an impetus, but this entire range formation tells me we are nothing but sideways. If we get ourselves into a bounce zone, I would anticipate price action to be a little messy. So just be careful here. The gap fill event is all the way up here at 67, and that's where the volume weighted average price is. Point of control, $66.62. Very sideways. Let's go to gold. Let me see if they've done it for this one. And that would be no. All right, look at this beast. I mean, wow. What a move. What a move. So, of course, dips clearly buy zones. This price action, very interesting. I believe that a lot of people are caught short in this chart. And so yesterday we saw it when John Hoagland was discussing what the delta was. And here's the interesting piece. Delta remained negative as price moved higher. Of course, delta is that ratio of buyers to sellers. And even as it moved up, the delta continued to climb, telling us that there were a lot of traders trying to short. The question is, look at this rotation. I do think that there's a valid short here. This is Friday's implied vol. Friday's implied vol is $3,410. Opening range, it opens above Friday's vol. So clearly, if we breach $3,418, we are very likely to head into an expansion. If we look at the last wave, the next expansion is 3,421 and then 3,450. My thought is 3,440 seems like a really interesting spot for price action to move in general. Very, very interesting, but it's got a warning signal right here. I would definitely You could take a quick snap short here at 3,417, but literally, if it moved to 3,418, you'd need to be long. So, 10-point stop or, a double buy into the upside pressure. It's pretty incredible in my mind. Okay, so that being said, what do we got? Let's see. Let's go to, oops, did I do the opening range? No. Opening range high, $3,414.80. Low, $3,410.50. The low is the IV from that space. We broke hard, went into Thursday's IV range, and I find that to be supremely interesting as well, right? Just incredibly interesting. I don't know why I have 2 Wednesdays up here. Man, I don't know what happened to my levels today. Just bananas. Okay. All right. I think those two are mixed. So that's what we're staring down. Upward pressure, still buying, but I do believe these folks are caught in a short squeeze. SPY. Okay, so let's take a look at the volatility events for SPY. They've expanded pretty... Oh my word. This is bizarre. All right, I'll fix it after. Let's just look at our price motion. Good grief. And then I'll give you the numbers that I'm seeing for the formation in general. So what are we doing? Obviously, we're in some kind of breakout. Here's all where the value area was. We retested value, broke higher, and now we're trying to accumulate in the same region that we had before. So what does that particularly tell us? It tells us that range trading is going to be the best bet for us, right? We buy the low of the range. Where is that? That's going to be value area high at 626.54. We cover at the high area of the range. Shorting here needs to be very, very precarious in my mind. You want to be very careful. Let it work itself out, and then you can take the short action. Clearly, we've got some divergence underneath, but price action is still bullish, so dips are going to be buy zones. Volume weighted average price, $625.15. Volume point of control, $623. Dips are still buys in these structural formations. Don't get all crazy trying to short. All right? Okay, that's it for me. We've got the PPI in 2 minutes. I'll see you on the streams. Just be careful.